Hail, Lilith.
Recently, we witnessed the return of Lilith, daughter of hatred and creator of sanctuary in the Diablo 4 cinematic. But up until now, we haven't really seen many of her exploits outside of published works such as the Sin War trilogy. To many onlookers, Lilith would seem brash, impulsive, even short-sighted, and the scope of her failures lend to that. But Lilith's continued progress towards her goal to end the eternal conflict by her own children, the NEPHALEM, leveraging sometimes manipulation and sometimes outright force, lends an even greater argument that Lilith is an absolute genius. Every step in her plan has had far-reaching and world-shaping consequences, even if not readily visible on the surface, and we'll go into the depths of Lilith's exploits in this video. To see if you share the same conclusion, first we must go into Lilith's own sordid past, explain the steps she's taken to reach the current stage of her conquest and her eventual banishment and subsequent return, and where it might lead in the coming chapter of Diablo 4.
You think me mad, old friend, but I know these dreams. They tell of the future. Hell is coming, brother. Hell is coming.
The daughter of hatred scorned. Lilith, as mentioned previously, is referred to as Daughter of Hatred, and this is actually quite literal. She is the daughter of Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred, so her upbringing wasn't exactly happy or comfortable. As Mephisto exudes hatred, so too does hate's influence and deep-seated character flaws. Part of the effect of Mephisto's power is that those who are influenced, specifically those closest to him, take on certain aspects of hatred. In the Book of Cain on Mephisto, in Lilith's case, spite and vindictiveness. This, along with full knowledge of Mephisto's hatred of angels, was the driving factor for Lilith's own rebellion, and would be her constant motive throughout the rest of her history. Over time, during the eternal conflict, Lilith would grow to deeply despise her father and brother's approach to war.
My father is content to fight the same battles and the same foes while everything turns to ashes. Though his victories might last a day, or a year, or 100 years, the war will never be won so long as he and his brothers lead. There is an end to it, but fools like my father are too blind to see it.
It's here that Lilith would hatch the very plan that would lead the world to the world we would come to know as Sanctuary. And it all began with a plot to steal the World Stone and, together with the angel Anarius, seed the world with the very means of completely ending the eternal conflict and her father's reign.
Angels, demons, I fear their conflict will soon engulf the world of men.
Her ultimate weapon, the NEPHALEM. In Lilith's first brilliant maneuver, Lilith, Anarius, and the followers they brought to their cause, having scaled the wind shear slope and stolen into the heart of the Pandemonium Fortress to reach the World Stone, and then used its power to create a new world, one where the World Stone would exist and is hidden therein. Something the greater evils caught wind of, but it was too late.
Enough of your idle speculation, Mephisto. I breached the fortress and saw it firsthand. The World Stone is gone. The angels I killed knew nothing about it. But since you are so perceptive, maybe you remember who else has been missing. Lilith. We must find her. Rip her limb from limb. Take the World Stone back.
And it wasn't enough just to create the world in plain sight. So, by altering the World Stone's frequency, it was torn out of Pandemonium and into a separate reality away from the prying eyes of the high heavens or the burning hells, bringing the eternal conflict to a grinding halt. Even though this would be enough for Anarius the angel, mere peace wasn't the only option Lilith had observed. Here Lilith would begin to give birth to the very children she would seek to use for her own mission to destroy both the high heavens and the burning hells. Whether or not she knew that the union of angel and demon would give birth to an all-powerful being, the Nephilim, is a major point of debate. However, the lore would seem to support that in some capacity she knew, or maybe at least had a very good idea, and so she would birth the first of the Nephilim from Inarius, Lunarian, also known as Rathma, and soon after other angels and demons would follow suit, giving rise to the first generation of the Nephilim, the Ancients.
I saw the Nephilim in a new light.
The Purge. Indeed, Lilith's plan bore fruit. The Nephilim grew to hold immense power, surpassing even the power of their forebears. The tremendous might of the Nephilim grew to concern Inarius greatly. Remember, Inarius sought to escape the eternal conflict, and according to the writings of Lilith found in Diablo 3,
I took a prisoner in the battle, an angel whose light was dimming. I brought him to my lair for my amusement, but he surprised me. My touch seemed to breathe life into him. He raved like a madman about how he wished to escape the war. Perhaps I have found someone I can use.
And Inarius' own musings.
They call me a hero. I slew demons beyond count. I won battles and broke sieges, but it availed me nothing. I know that this war can have no victor, only an eternity of revenge, pride, and hatred. Tyrael does not understand. He cannot see beyond the glory of battle. In time he may, but that day is not yet here.
Inarius heard the fears of the renegades who followed him and Lilith that the power of the Nephilim would attract the attention of their masters, who saw the union of both sides as the ultimate blasphemy and their children an abomination. They would destroy them and bring the eternal conflict to Sanctuary, the exact opposite of what Inarius had sought in the first place. It was then that Inarius and his followers, they resolved to destroy the Nephilim, but this seemed too drastic to Inarius, who sought solitary meditation to come to a decision. The fact that this decision was even being thought upon caused Lilith to fly into a fury, and she began slaughtering the renegade angels and demons who sought to destroy her weapons and offspring wholesale. The Book of Cain describes Lilith's transformation into a terrifying beast of tooth and claw, spike and blade to accomplish this feat. Even though this would lead to her banishment by Inarius to the void, her deed would resonate with the surviving Nephilim, and one day bring them to call upon her in dire times of trouble.
Hail, Lilith.
Uldyssian, Lilith and the Sin War. Lilith, however, would not remain banished forever, and after years of the Nephilim having their powers diminished by Inarius' manipulation of the World Stone, would then set another plan in motion to reawaken the first of the Nephilim in humanity. The brilliance of this exists in a couple of different facets. First, even though the number of Nephilim alive during the Age of the Ancients was not few, it was nowhere near the population of Sanctuary now. If all went according to plan, the number of Nephilim would rise quickly to an amount that could bring swift destruction to the high heavens and the burning hells. The latter having already learned of the Sanctuary thanks to the Vigerai. Lilith's plan could not, however, go into full effect because Inarius was still a major player in the world's political control. However, by utilizing the human Uldyssian, someone with vehement hatred of both religious orders, she could easily get her vengeance on her ex-lover, who was currently occupied with the burning hell's presence on Sanctuary in the form of the Triune, along with her older brother, Lucian. Things did not go according to plan at all, but the outcome was still significant. Even though she would lead Uldyssian and his friends in the guise of a noblewoman named Lilia to awaken the Nephilim's powers in other humans, her plan would be sidetracked by Uldyssian's stubborn nature, even despite her rather physical suggestion. She is, after all, the queen of the succubi. Physical and emotional manipulation are Lilith's specialty. Instead of visiting larger towns and building up massive armies quickly, they would spread much more slowly by visiting smaller settlements. However, even if in the end the numbers weren't to the level that she had envisioned, Uldyssian's sacrifice would guarantee that her influence upon the Nephilim via the World Stone would endure until she could return once again to cultivate the Nephilim into a mighty army. And even though part of her gambit was to reset the World Stone, Stone and return the budding Nephilim back to human, that would one day change. It should be noted that Lilith was not around to see the end of Inarius, but rather he banished her once more to the Void after Uldyssian's victory over the Triune. Another curious event transpired between Uldyssian's brother Mendel and Lilith in the Void when Mendel, tethered to the guardian Tragul, tried to summon Rathma, who had been recently banished to the Void by Inarius as well. And according to the Veiled Prophet, he uttered words of power and a sphere shot backwards into the darkness. The demoness's shriek was terrible to hear, filled with both fury and despair. Lilith cursed his name even as she called for him. Mendel would go to become Kalan and found the priests of Rathma, the order of necromancers on Sanctuary, and perhaps it wasn't a great idea to anger the Queen of Spite. The burning hells hath no fury like the daughter of hatred scorned. Diablo 3 Return of the Nephilim. After Uldyssian banished heaven and hell from Sanctuary, many events would come to pass up until 20 years after the destruction of the Worldstone at Ariad. During Diablo 2, the story of the Nephilim would continue. With the Worldstone gone, Lilith's ultimate weapon, the Nephilim, began to grow in power yet again, only this time to arguably greater heights than even Uldyssian. Though she wasn't present during this time, what Lilith started would continue to act as a powerful thorn in the sides of the high heavens and the burning hells.
But within him beats a mortal heart that will one day be tempted to corruption.
By 3, thy way opens.
By 3 they come. No one knows when it happened, nor could anyone have foreseen that Lilith would have had a gateway constructed to bring her back from the Void, or even if it was her behind it. However it happened, the Summoner knew of its existence and utilized the gate to summon Lilith back yet again. This mysterious Summoner, whose identity is yet to be officially confirmed, is at the very least believed to be among the original Nephilim and views Lilith with great reverence. Yet again, Lilith in all her tenacity returns to Sanctuary to nurture her great army to finally achieve her goals, and with none of her previous obstacles in her path, now stands to complete her work and destroy the opposing forces of heaven and hell in tandem.
Blessed Mother, save us.
Diablo 4. As far as her motive is concerned, we've seen throughout Lilith's history that vindictive retribution is a major part of her character. Lilith's tenacity has brought her from her beginning to our current point in modern history, and certainly all those who oppose her have much to fear. We've seen in screenshots and concept art that Lilith appears to have corrupted what seems to be the priests of Rathma in various forms to join her cause against the protagonist of Diablo 4. Whether this pans out or not, it doesn't make sense recalling her final interaction with their founder. We know it's more than possible Inarius will be a player yet again in Diablo 4. How this will occur is still yet to be seen. Maybe she recruits him, maybe we enlist his aid against her. Inarius was imprisoned within Mephisto's realm after the Sin War, and perhaps that will come into play in the grand scheme of things.
When I see Lilith sleeping at my side, I'm filled with dark thoughts. My sins are real, and I will surely pay for them. We live in peace for now, but it cannot last. They will come for me. But what of my great deeds? When I'm in torment, who will celebrate those? Who will remember Inarius?
Final thoughts. Lilith's machinations are still yet to be fully understood, but everything she started has flourished until now, and is poised to finally erupt into a massive conflict that could shake the foundation of creation itself. But what do you think? Is Lilith a genius, or perhaps even just really unlucky as unforeseen events cause her plans to hiccup every so often? Diablo Immortal will likely hold more lore that could very well tie into her plans or even Inarius' plot, but only time will tell. However, it will happen. Lilith has returned despite all odds, and her weapons are being readied for war. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're looking to group up in Diablo 4, we're running an awesome lore community on Discord, which is linked in the description. Plus, as people ask where the best lore lies in Diablo 4, I've linked books I referenced in this video, such as the Book of Cain, Adria, the Sin War, and more in the description below. Thanks for watching, And until next time, Traveler.